It was supposed to be a routine evening. Just another night in Atlanta where the stars of love and hip-hop mingled under the club lights. But what unfolded shocked everyone in attendance and has since sent the internet into a frenzy. Mendeecees Harris and Kirk Frost, two men who usually keep their tempers tucked behind their calculated public images, completely lost control. What started as a heated exchange of words quickly spiraled into something far darker. With fists flying, tables overturning, and cameras scrambling to capture every second of the chaos. Witnesses say the tension had been building for weeks, subtle jabs thrown at events, whispered accusations about loyalty, and quiet resentment bubbling beneath the surface. But no one, not even their closest friends, expected the powder keg to ignite so violently. Fans who thought they had seen it all from this franchise were left speechless as both men were dragged apart. Bruised, enraged, and vowing that this was only the beginning. The fight didn't just end on the floor of that Atlanta venue, it ripped through social media in real time. Phones lit up with live footage, Twitter timelines exploded with hashtag Mendeecees vs. Kirk trending worldwide, and Instagram comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Emotions ran high not only for the cast but for the fans who felt torn between two pillars of the show. Supporters of Mendeecees swore Kirk had provoked him, while Kirk's loyalists fired back, calling Mendeecees reckless and desperate for attention. And yet, the most shocking detail wasn't just the fight itself, it was what they were fighting about. According to insiders, hidden secrets, betrayals, and long-buried grievances all came rushing to the surface that night. Allegations that could shatter families, friendships, and even the future of the show itself were shouted across the room, caught on shaky cameras for the world to dissect. By the time security had finally separated them, the damage was done. Reputations were tarnished, alliances broken, and questions left unanswered. Why did these men snap in such a public and destructive way? What truth had been exposed that night? And most importantly, can the love and hip-hop family survive after witnessing this explosion of chaos? Stay tuned, because what comes next will make this fight look like only the beginning. The night after the shocking fight between Mendeecees and Kirk Frost, Atlanta was buzzing in ways the city hadn't seen in years. Clubs were whispering, radio stations were dissecting every rumor, and fans were replaying the shaky phone videos that captured the two men lunging at each other like wild animals. What the clips didn't fully reveal was the sheer heat of the emotions that boiled over that evening. The tension between Mendeecees and Kirk wasn't born in that club, it had been festering for months, hidden in sly comments, suspicious glances, and the kind of unspoken rivalry that grows silently until it finally explodes. Insiders say the spark came earlier that day during a closed-door meeting organized by production to smooth out brewing conflicts. Everyone expected a bit of shouting, maybe even some finger-pointing. But no one imagined the temperature would rise so dangerously high. Mendeecees arrived with his usual controlled posture, his chin high, his tone deliberate, but anyone who knew him could see the storm brewing behind his eyes. Kirk walked in late, dressed sharp but carrying the smug grin that fans often associate with his scandals. The energy was immediately tense. Mendeecees muttered under his breath, "Always late, always disrespectful," loud enough for people to hear. Kirk snapped back, "At least I show up. Some of us disappear when it gets real." The room froze. Everyone understood that line was a jab about Mendeecees' past legal troubles, something he had worked for years to bury. "Don't play with me," Kirk Mendeecees warned, his voice low but heavy. Kirk smirked, leaning forward in his chair. "Or what? You gonna run again? Or are you gonna face what you've been hiding?" The exchange grew sharper with every word until producers had to step in and end the meeting early, urging them to cool down before the evening's event. But cooling down was no longer an option. Both men left with fury in their chests, determined to prove something. By the time the club filled that night, everyone could sense the storm coming. The Frost family was there. Rashida tried her best to keep her distance, focusing on her own conversations, but her eyes darted nervously toward her husband. Mendeecees entered with Yandi on his arm, her face already tight with worry. "Please, just ignore him," she whispered, but Mendeecees' jaw clenched harder with every glance at Kirk across the room. Fans in attendance, who had heard whispers about their bad blood, kept their phones ready. They didn't want to miss a second of what felt like an inevitable showdown. The first real blow wasn't physical, though it was verbal, sharp, and designed to cut deep. Kirk, standing near the VIP section, raised his glass and said just loud enough for the crowd to hear, "Some of us know how to handle our families, not abandon them." Mendeecees turned instantly, his face hardening as Yandi tugged at his arm, whispering, "Let it go." But it was too late. "Say that to me again, man," Mendeecees barked, pushing through the bodies around him. Kirk smirked. You heard me the first time. The air shifted. Rashida rushed forward, her voice sharp. Kirk, stop it. Not tonight. But Kirk was locked in, unwilling to back down. Mendeecees shoved him in the chest, and that single push was the trigger. Chairs screeched, glasses shattered, and the two men lunged at each other. FISTS, swinging wildly as security tried desperately to separate them. The screams of fans filled the room as phones rose higher, flashes catching every second of the chaos. Yandi was crying out, "Stop! Mendeecees! Stop!" While Rashida screamed Kirk's name, her voice trembling with fury and fear. But what shocked everyone most wasn't just the punches, it was the words that flew out in between. In the midst of the brawl, Kirk shouted something that silenced the crowd for a moment. "Tell them what you did, Mendeecees. Tell them about the deal." Gasps rippled through the venue. People looked at each other, confused, whispering, "What deal? What's he talking about?" Mendeecees, his shirt ripped, his chest heaving, yelled back, "You don't want me to expose you, Kirk. You think you're clean. Everybody's about to see the real you." That line changed everything. The fight wasn't just two men trading blows, it was a battle laced with secrets that could unravel more than just their reputations. Fans who thought this was about pride or disrespect suddenly realized something bigger was at stake. Producers rushed to cut the cameras, but it was too late. Dozens of fans had already uploaded the footage. Twitter timelines were exploding with speculation. Was Kirk hiding another scandal? Did Mendeecees have dirt that could shatter his marriage and his brand? Or was Kirk bluffing to throw Mendeecees off balance? The club emptied into the streets, chaos spilling outside as security tried to manage the mess. Yandi was furious, pulling at Mendeecees' arm, demanding answers. "What deal is he talking about? What does he mean?" she asked, tears in her eyes. Mendeecees brushed her off, saying, "It's nothing. Don't believe that man. He's desperate," but his shaky tone betrayed him. Rashida, meanwhile, cornered Kirk near their car, her voice sharp. "What did you mean in there? What did you just say?" Kirk avoided her gaze, muttering, "It's not what it sounds like," which only fueled more suspicion. By dawn, the headlines were everywhere. Blogs screamed Mendeecees and Kirk in explosive brawl, while gossip pages hinted at secret deals and hidden betrayals. Fans dissected every word, every frame, every scream from the videos that went viral overnight. Hashtags like #Team Mendeecees and #Team Kirk split the internet in half. Old interviews were being pulled up, past grudges were resurfacing, and fans began connecting dots that perhaps were never meant to be connected. As the sun rose over Atlanta, one thing became clear: the fight wasn't just a moment of chaos. It was the beginning of something much darker, a storm that would pull families, friendships, and the entire love and hip-hop legacy into question. What Kirk had hinted at, and what Mendeecees had refused to clarify, was enough to leave everyone restless, wondering just how deep the betrayal really went. And in the silence of the morning after, both men knew this wasn't over. It was only the start of a battle that would shake everything they had built. The days following the fight felt like a war zone for everyone tied to Mendeecees and Kirk. Every social media feed was overflowing with shaky clips of the brawl, slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame. Fans were convinced they could read lips, decipher hidden messages, and piece together the bigger scandal behind the fight. Twitter threads stretched miles long with people speculating what the deal really meant. One fan posted, "Kirk said tell them about the deal. He gotta be talking about money laundering or something shady." Another fired back, "Nah, this is love and hip-hop, it's always about cheating. That man's hiding another baby." The rumors spread like wildfire, and both families were left reeling in the flames. Inside the Frost household, Rashida was livid. She paced the living room, throwing her hands in the air. "Kirk, do you realize what you've done? You didn't just fight Mendeecees, you dropped a bomb in front of the entire world." Kirk slouched on the couch, his jaw bruised, muttering, "He pushed me, he came at me. I wasn't gonna let him disrespect me like that," Rashida snapped. "I don't care about the fight. I care about the words you screamed. What deal? Kirk, what have you been hiding from me?" His silence said more than words ever could. Rashida shook her head, tears brimming. "You're gonna ruin everything we've built if you don't start talking." Meanwhile, across town, Yandi wasn't any calmer. She sat across from Mendeecees at their kitchen table, her arms crossed tightly. "You made a fool of yourself, and now the entire world thinks you're hiding something. I need you to tell me right now, what deal was he talking about?" Mendeecees ran a hand over his face, exhausted. "He's bluffing, Yandi. Kirk always runs his mouth when he's cornered. Don't feed into it," but Yandi wasn't buying it. The way you reacted, the way your voice shook, you're not telling me everything. Do you know what that does to me? To us, to our family? The weight of her words hung heavy in the room, and for the first time, Mendeecees didn't have a slick answer. As the couples battled in private, the show's producers were scrambling. Mona Scott-Young herself called an emergency meeting. "This is bigger than ratings," she told her team. "We've got families tearing apart, fans demanding answers, and two men threatening to destroy each other on camera. We need to get ahead of this before it gets completely out of hand." Rumors swirled that the network was considering halting production until things cooled down, but others whispered that the executives saw dollar signs. The fight had tripled the show's viewership overnight. Clips of the brawl were picked up by mainstream outlets. Even late-night comedians cracked jokes about it. The chaos, as dangerous as it was, had become the hottest storyline of the year. Back in Atlanta, the tension between the men refused to fade. They both retreated into their camps, surrounded by friends and family who egged them on instead of calming them down. Scrappy was seen hanging with Kirk, telling him, "Man, you had every right. Ain't no man gonna come at me like that and walk away." On the other side, young Jock was spotted backing Mendeecees, saying, "Brr, you can't let Kirk drag your name like that. He's trying to destroy you." The circle of friends only made the divide worse, fueling both sides with gossip, half-truths, and the kind of toxic encouragement that turned a fight into a full-blown feud. Then came the bombshell. A leaked voice note surfaced online. An anonymous page uploaded a clip, allegedly of Kirk talking to an associate about keeping the deal under wraps. The audio was grainy, but the voice sounded eerily like Kirk's. "We can't let nobody find out," the voice said. "If it gets out, it'll ruin me. It'll ruin everything." Within minutes, blogs had picked it up, claiming Kirk was hiding a secret business venture, maybe even something illegal. Fans went wild. So Mendeecees wasn't lying. One post read, "This is bigger than cheating. This is fraud level." The Frost family went into panic mode, with Rashida demanding answers once again. "Kirk, if that's you, if that tape is real, we are done." Kirk swore it wasn't him, calling it fake, but the damage was done. The internet believed what it wanted to believe. Mendeecees, seeing the narrative swing his way, started dropping his own cryptic hints on social media. He posted a black and white picture of himself with the caption, "Truth always comes to light." Fans flooded the comments, begging him to spill everything. "Just say it. Expose Kirk already. We need the tea." The pressure mounted, and Yandi worried that her husband's pride would push him into escalating the feud. "Don't do this online, Mendeecees," she pleaded. "Don't turn this into a circus." But for Mendeecees, the circus had already begun. He felt like the world was finally listening, finally seeing Kirk for who he really was. The two men came dangerously close to another confrontation when they were both invited to an industry event in downtown Atlanta. Security was beefed up, and producers prayed they would stay apart. But as fate would have it, they crossed paths near the entrance. Cameras swarmed instantly, flashes blinding as fans screamed. Kirk sneered, "You running your mouth online, huh? That's the only place you can win." Mendeecees stepped forward, eyes burning. "Keep testing me, Kirk. The next time, it won't just be words." Security jumped in before punches could fly, but the energy was volatile. Reporters shouted questions, fans screamed for selfies, and the whole scene felt like the city itself was holding its breath, waiting for the next explosion. By the end of that night, Atlanta knew one thing. The fight wasn't a one-time event. It was the opening chapter of a war that threatened to swallow not just Kirk and Mendeecees, but everyone tied to them. And as more secrets dangled in the air, it was clear the worst was still to come. The storm between Mendeecees and Kirk refused to fade, and by the third week after their fight, the tension had become unbearable. What had started as a chaotic brawl had now spread into every corner of their lives: family, friendships, business, and even the streets of Atlanta. The city felt like it was on edge, waiting for the next chapter in this saga to erupt. And it didn't take long before things escalated in ways no one could have predicted. The leaked audio had already painted Kirk as a man hiding something dark, but fans wanted more than rumors, they wanted receipts. Social media accounts dedicated to love and hip-hop gossip began digging, pulling up old court filings, shady business ventures, and cryptic financial records tied to Kirk's name. "It's all adding up," one fan account claimed. "Kirk has been funneling money through fake projects, and Mendeecees knows the truth." Within hours, hashtags like #KirkExposed and #TheDeal were trending, and the pressure on the Frost family intensified. At home, Rashida was reaching her breaking point. She sat across from Kirk at their kitchen island, her voice sharp and trembling. Do you understand that my name is tied to yours? That everything you do reflects on me and my businesses? If you're hiding something, if this deal is real, you're not just risking yourself, you're risking me, our kids, everything. Kirk rubbed his temples, avoiding her gaze. I told you, it's not real. They're making things up because of the fight. Rashida slammed her hand on the counter. Then explain why you screamed it in front of the world. Why would you say something if there wasn't some truth behind it? The silence that followed was deafening, and Rashida's eyes filled with tears. If you don't come clean, Kirk, I don't know how much longer I can stand by you. Meanwhile, Mendeecees and Yandi were facing their own storm. Yandi's phone buzzed nonstop with messages from fans, reporters, and even other cast members demanding answers. They want you to expose him, she told Mendeecees, frustration lacing her voice. They think you're the hero here. But if you're holding back something dangerous, we could be dragged down to. Mendeecees leaned back in his chair, exhaling heavily. You think I don't know that? You think I don't feel the weight of this? But if I let everything out, it's going to burn the whole house down. And not just his. Yandi's eyes narrowed. What do you mean, not just his? Mendeecees looked at her, his jaw tight, then shook his head. Some things are better left unsaid. That cryptic answer sent Yandi into a rage. No, you don't get to hide behind that anymore. You've dragged us into this fight, and now you're telling me there's more. What aren't you saying? The cracks between the couples widened, but the drama didn't stop at home. At the next Love and Hip Hop filming session, the producers attempted to stage a group scene in hopes of addressing the tension on camera. They brought together Kirk, Rashida, Mendeecees, and Yandi in what they thought would be a controlled environment, but nothing about that day was controlled. The moment the two men laid eyes on each other, the room filled with tension so heavy it was suffocating. Kirk sneered. So this is how you play it. Leak tapes, spread lies, get the fans on your side. Mendeecees stepped closer, his voice low but laced with venom. I don't need to leak anything. You did that to yourself when you couldn't keep your mouth shut. You scared, Kirk? Scared that the truth is finally catching up to you. Yandi tried to pull him back, whispering urgently, please, don't do this. But Mendeecees shoved her hand away, his fury boiling over. Rashida jumped in, her voice rising. You don't get to drag my family's name through the mud. Whatever beef y'all got, keep it between yourselves. But Kirk wouldn't let it drop. He raised his voice. He's the one who came at me. Rashida, he's the one hiding skeletons too. He ain't no saint. The room erupted into chaos. Chairs scraped against the floor as security stepped in. Cameras swerved to catch every angle, and cast members shouted over one another. In the midst of it all, Mendeecees pointed directly at Kirk and shouted, keep talking, and I'll show them the paperwork. I'll show them everything. That line set the internet ablaze once the footage leaked. Fans began speculating that Mendeecees was sitting on hard evidence documents, contracts, maybe even legal records that could destroy Kirk's reputation completely. Later that night, another twist hit the streets. A blurry photo surfaced online of Mendeecees meeting with a well-known Atlanta attorney. The caption read, looks like he's ready to drop the bomb. Fans went wild, convinced that Mendeecees was preparing to release damning evidence. Kirk responded with an Instagram live, his face tight with anger. Y'all believe anything you see online. This man is trying to play y'all, trying to turn you against me. I've been in this game too long to let somebody like him take me down. But the comments were flooded with fans calling him a liar, demanding answers, and tagging Rashida. Back at Yandi's house, the tension reached a breaking point. Yandi stood in the doorway, her voice shaking. If you're sitting on something that big, you need to tell me now. I won't let you drag me and the kids into this. Mendeecees finally cracked, slamming his fist on the table. You think I want this? You think I want to be the one carrying this weight? Kirk ain't just dirty, he's dangerous. If I let the truth out, it won't just ruin him. It could ruin a lot of people. Yandi's eyes widened. Then why even start this war? Mendeecees looked away, whispering, because he crossed the line. And now there's no going back. By the end of that week, the feud had reached a fever pitch. Fans were picking sides like it was a championship game. Celebrities were chiming in with their takes. And bloggers promised that bombshell receipts were on the way. The entire Love and Hip Hop cast felt the ripple effect. Friendships fractured, alliances shifted, and whispers of more scandals floated in every conversation. What had once been a fight between two men was now a war threatening to drag everyone down with it. And just when the dust seemed like it couldn't get any thicker, a mysterious envelope arrived at a major Atlanta blog office. Inside were copies of what appeared to be financial records linked directly to Kirk Frost. The sender, anonymous. The content, explosive. And suddenly, the world realized that the fight between Mendeecees and Kirk wasn't just about pride. It was about survival. The envelope that landed at the Atlanta blog's office lit a fire that spread faster than anyone expected. By dawn, screenshots of the documents were all over Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The papers showed a tangled web of financial transfers, shell companies, and suspicious signatures that all traced back to Kirk Frost. Fans pored over the details, circling figures, highlighting names, and creating conspiracy boards on Reddit. "This isn't just shady," one fan wrote. "This is criminal." Others connected the dots back to Mendeecees' cryptic warnings. "He told us. He said Kirk was hiding something, and here it is." The internet crowned Mendeecees the whistleblower even, though he had never publicly admitted sending the documents. Kirk, meanwhile, was in freefall. Rashida confronted him in their bedroom, waving her phone in his face. "So what is this? Tell me this isn't real. Tell me this is fake." Kirk sat on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. "They're twisting things, Rashida. These are old deals, old business. Nothing illegal." But his voice cracked, and Rashida knew he was lying. "You've embarrassed me for the last time," she shouted, tears streaming down her face. "You've humiliated me in front of the world. I stood by you through everything. And this is how you repay me." Kirk tried to reach for her, but she pulled away, her anger boiling over. "You're not just dragging yourself down anymore, you're dragging me, our kids, our businesses, everything we worked for." Across town, Yandi was scrolling through the documents with a mix of fear and awe. "Do you see this?" she asked Mendeecees, her voice trembling. "If these are real, Kirk could go to jail." Mendeecees leaned back in his chair, his face unreadable. "I told him to leave me alone. I told him not to push me. Now look where we are." Yandi slammed her phone down. "You didn't just tell him, you set him up. Don't lie to me. You leaked this." Mendeecees didn't answer, which was answer enough. Yandi's eyes filled with tears. "Do you know what you've done? You've started a war you can't control. This isn't TV drama anymore. This is real life, and real people could get hurt." Producers tried desperately to regain control. Mona Scottian called another meeting, this time with lawyers present. "We can't let this spiral any further," she told the cast. "If you bring this on camera, we're in legal hot water. If you keep it off camera, the fans will riot. We're walking a tightrope here." But the cast didn't care about tightropes. Young Jock leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. "Man, y'all gotta stop pretending. The fans want the mess. And this is the mess. If we don't show it, they'll find it online anyway." Scrappy added fuel, saying, "Kirk's dirty laundry is out there, and Mendeecees is the one holding the basket. Ain't no way we can hide this now." When the cameras rolled for the next group scene, the tension was unbearable. The entire cast sat in a circle, producers praying they could get a calm discussion, but calm was impossible. Kirk stormed into the room, his voice booming. "You think you slick, Mendeecees? You think you can ruin me and walk away?" Mendeecees rose to his feet, glaring. "You ruined yourself. Man, all I did was show the world what you've been hiding." Yandi tugged at his arm, whispering desperately, "Please, stop." Rashida stood, her face flushed with anger. "Do you know what you've done to my family? To my kids? You're not just exposing Kirk, you're tearing lives apart." Mendeecees shot back. "Lives were already torn apart when he started playing dirty. Don't come at me like I'm the villain." The room exploded into shouting, cast members yelling over one another, security on edge. Fans later said, watching the footage felt like watching a courtroom drama unravel in real time. Everyone wanted answers, but the deeper the shouting went, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about one fight or one scandal. This was about years of resentment, betrayal, and secrets finally boiling over. Then came the biggest twist yet. Kirk accused Mendeecees of hypocrisy. "You pointing fingers like your own hands are clean," Kirk barked. "Tell them about your deals. Tell them about the stuff you buried when you got out. You think you a saint? You're dirtier than me." Gasps filled the room. Yandi's eyes widened in shock, looking at her husband. "What is he talking about, Mendeecees?" Mendeecees clenched his fists, his voice low. "Don't do this, Kirk. Don't drag me down with you." Kirk laughed bitterly. "You started this war, and now you crying when I fight back. Nah, we both going down." That exchange sent the internet into overdrive. Fans who had been firmly hashtag Team Mendeecees suddenly started questioning everything. "Wait, what is Kirk talking about? Does Mendeecees have skeletons too?" One post read. Another fan tweeted, "They're both guilty. This ain't a fight. This is a cover-up war." Suddenly, The feud wasn't just about exposing Kirk, it was about whether Mendeecees was hiding just as much dirt. Behind the scenes, Yandi broke down. She confronted Mendeecees in their car after filming, her voice cracking. Tell me right now, what is he talking about? What deals? What secrets? I've stood by you, defended you, and now I look like a fool if you've been hiding things. Mendeecees stayed silent for a long moment, then finally said, there are things I did to protect us. Things I never wanted you to know. But Kirk, he's not lying. Yandi covered her face with her hands, sobbing. So you're no better than him. The families were spiraling, the fans were divided, and the network was drowning in chaos. But no matter how bad it got, neither man seemed willing to back down. Every time one secret was exposed, another layer of betrayal surfaced, dragging everyone deeper into the fire. And as whispers of law enforcement taking interest in the leaked documents began to spread, it became clear this feud wasn't just entertainment anymore. It was about to become deadly serious. Atlanta felt like the set of a crime thriller instead of a reality show. The leaked financial papers had set off a chain reaction, and the whispers that law enforcement might be watching every move turned the feud between Mendeecees and Kirk into something bigger than either of them could control. Fans weren't just talking anymore, they were demanding arrests, demanding justice, demanding answers. Both men had turned themselves into public villains, and the world was hungry to see which one would crack first. The police presence around them wasn't imagined. Word leaked that investigators had quietly pulled records linked to both families, cross-checking business accounts, appearances, and even off-camera activities. TMZ reported, authorities may be probing into the Frost and Harris households following explosive allegations aired during Love and Hip Hop chaos. Within hours, both Yandi and Rashida had paparazzi outside their doors, microphones shoved in their faces, and fans screaming questions from sidewalks. Is Kirk guilty? Did Mendeecees snitch? Is this the end of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta? The frenzy was unrelenting. Inside the Frost house, Rashida had reached her breaking point. She slammed her phone down after reading yet another headline and rounded on Kirk. You've dragged me through hell before. But this is unforgivable. I can't keep defending you when every piece of evidence screams you're guilty. Kirk, his face tired, voice gravelly, muttered, you think I wanted this? You think I planned for Mendeecees to drag my name like this? He's trying to take me out because he knows if I go down, I'll take him with me. Rashida's voice cracked. So you admit it. You admit you're dirty. Kirk looked away, the silence louder than any words. Meanwhile, over at Mendeecees and Yandi's home, the tension was just as raw. Yandi confronted him in their living room, pacing back and forth. You told me there were things you did to protect us. Now the whole world is whispering that you're as guilty as Kirk. If you don't tell me the truth now, Mendeecees, I swear, he cut her off sharply. You don't understand what I had to do. I kept our family together. I kept us afloat. If I'd told you everything, you'd have walked away a long time ago. Yandi's face flushed with rage. So you let me defend you, stand by you, fight for you while you built lies under my feet. You're no better than him, and maybe worse because you let me believe you were the victim. The cracks between the couples widened, but the drama wasn't confined to their homes. On set, the producers tried to salvage the chaos by staging a mediation scene between the two men. They brought in neutral cast members, hoping to de-escalate things on camera, but mediation turned to meltdown almost instantly. The second Kirk sat across from Mendeecees, his eyes narrowed, his lips curled in disgust. You think you the hero in this? You think the streets respect you for Let's be real, you dirty too. Mendeecees shot up from his chair, pointing a finger directly in Kirk's face. Say it again, and I'll end you right here. You got no respect. Kirk, you've been hiding behind Rashida your whole life. Without her, you're nothing. Gasps filled the room as Rashida jumped up, her voice piercing. Don't you dare drag me into this. Yandi screamed back. He already did when he disrespected me, when he dragged our family through the mud. Security rushed in as the room descended into another shouting match. Tables were flipped, producers screamed for cameras to keep rolling, and castmates scrambled to pull the women away before it turned into a physical fight. But the most shocking moment came when Kirk snapped under pressure, red-faced and shaking. He shouted across the chaos, "Fine. You want the truth? Mendeecees and we were in business together. He ain't innocent. He's been eating off the same dirty money he claims I'm drowning in." The entire room froze. Cameras zoomed in. Cast members stared wide-eyed. And fans watching the leaked footage later said it felt like watching a bomb go off in real time. Yandi's hand flew to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. "Tell me that's a lie," she whispered to Mendeecees. He stood frozen, unable to speak. Rashida, trembling with fury, turned on Kirk. You mean to tell me this whole time, both of you were in this together? And you put me and Yandy through hell to protect yourselves? Kirk tried to backpedal. It wasn't like that tit wasn't supposed to go this far. But the damage was done. The women stormed out, leaving both men standing there exposed, their reputations hanging by a thread. The fallout was instant. Blogs lit up with headlines. Kirk and Mendeecees business ties exposed. Dirty money scandal rocks love and hip-hop. Are they headed to jail? Fans who had once been divided, now united in their disgust. They're both frauds. One post read, "This ain't about loyalty or family, it's about greed." Others demanded the show cut them both off, claiming love and hip-hop had crossed the line from messy entertainment to real-life criminal scandal. The network was in crisis mode. Executives debated suspending both men indefinitely, worried the scandal would attract unwanted legal attention. But others argued the ratings were too high to let go. "This is the biggest story in reality TV right now," one producer said. "If we drop it, someone else will scoop it. We're sitting on gold." Mona Scott herself was torn. Knowing the show thrived on chaos but realizing this might be the one storyline that spiraled too far. For the families though, it wasn't about ratings, it was about survival. Rashida packed a bag and left the house with her kids, her voice shaking as she told Kirk, "I won't let you drag us down. If you're going down, you're going alone." Yandy, heartbroken, locked herself in the bedroom, refusing to even look at Mendeecees. "I believed in you," she sobbed through the door. "I built my life around you. And now I don't even know who you are." The men, once proud of their power and respect, were now isolated, despised, and hunted by both the public and possibly the law. Yet even with everything crumbling around them, neither seemed ready to surrender. For Kirk, it was about pride, he refused to admit defeat. For Mendeecees, it was about control, he believed he could still find a way to turn the narrative in his favor. But one thing was certain, the fight that had started with fists and insults had grown into something monstrous, pulling everyone into its orbit. And as the city of Atlanta whispered about indictments, betrayals, and the collapse of two once powerful men, the fans knew the final chapter was coming. And when it came, it would not be pretty. Atlanta was no longer just buzzing, it was on fire. Every street corner, every radio show, every gossip blog was consumed with one thing: the downfall of Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris. The scandal had leaped out of love and hip-hop screens and swallowed the real world whole. News vans lined up outside both of their homes. Paparazzi camped in driveways. Neighbors whispered behind closed doors, pointing at the Frost's mansion and at the Harris home as if they were haunted houses. The fight had started with fists, but it had bled into finances, marriages, and now possibly the law. Nobody could tell whether this was still a TV storyline or the unraveling of two men's entire lives. Kirk sat in his living room with the blinds drawn tight. His phone buzzed endlessly with calls, but he couldn't bring himself to answer. Rashida had packed up the kids and stormed out, her patience finally shattered. All he could see in his mind was the moment he'd blurted out the truth on camera that he and Mendeecees had once been in business together, skimming money through shady deals. That confession, born in anger, had destroyed him. Mendeecees wasn't faring any better. Yandy had locked herself in their bedroom, sobbing into her pillow, replaying the voice memo that had surfaced online, his voice, clear as day, talking about laundering money through an Atlanta property. He'd insisted for years he was a changed man, that prison had taught him lessons, that he was clean. Now she realized he'd been hiding more lies. She screamed through the door, "You said you were protecting me, protecting the family. But you've been protecting yourself." Mendeecees pressed his forehead against the wood, whispering, "I never wanted you to know. I never wanted it to come to this." Meanwhile, Mona Scott Young and the producers were in crisis mode. They met in a dim conference room, the weight of the franchise hanging in the air. "We're sitting on gold and dynamite at the same time," Mona said, pacing. "The ratings are through the roof, but if we air too much, we're finished. Lawsuits, investigations, this could bury us." A producer shook his head. "The fans don't care about lawsuits. They want blood. They want receipts. They'll riot if we try to censor this." Mona slammed her hand on the table. "And if one of them gets arrested because we made their crimes part of a TV arc, that's on us." But the fans wouldn't stop demanding. Hashtags like #release the episode and #exposed ATL trended every night. TikTokers recreated the fight with dramatic reenactments. Twitter sleuths broke down the leaked paperwork like detectives, circling signatures and highlighting numbers. Reddit threads popped up with titles like "The Frost-Harris Empire Explained." The internet had transformed into a jury, and both men were on trial. Sensing the frenzy, Kirk tried to take control of the narrative. He went live on Instagram late one night, his face bruised and tired, but defiant. "Everybody out here acting like they know me, acting like they know my business. Yeah, mistakes were made. But don't you dare let Mendeecees sit there and play saint. He's just as dirty as me. Maybe worse. He's been lying to y'all, lying to Yandi, lying to everybody. I won't be the only one crucified." His comments section exploded. Some fans typed, "Stay strong, Kirk," while others roasted him mercilessly. "Not another frost lie, you're finished. Rashida deserves better." Not to be outdone, Mendeecees posted a cryptic message the next morning, a black and white picture of him and Yandi at their wedding with the caption, "Even the strongest foundations crack when the truth is poisoned, but in the end, lies collapse, first." Fans went wild. Some declared him the hero, others called him a hypocrite. Divisions grew deeper by the hour. Then came the voice memo. Grainy, leaked by an anonymous source, but unmistakable, Mendeecees and Kirk could be heard plotting about an Atlanta property scheme. Mendeecees' voice said, "If we move the money through the Atlanta spot, nobody's gonna trace it." Kirk's voice responded, "Yeah, but keep Rashida and Yandi out of it. They can't know." The internet detonated. This wasn't speculation anymore. This was evidence. Fans gasped, journalists circled, and suddenly the whispers of law enforcement interest grew louder. TMZ blasted the headline, "Love and hip-hop stars caught in financial scheme, feds watching." Yandi confronted Mendeecees as soon as she heard it. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen from crying. "That's your voice. You can't deny it. You dragged me into this mess, and you think saying I was protecting you makes it better." Mendeecees grabbed her arms, desperate, "I swear. Yandi, I only kept it from you because I didn't want you touched by it. Kirk pushed me into this. He was the one who started it. I was trying to get us out." But Yandi shook him off, her voice breaking. "You weren't trying to get us out. You were trying to keep me blind. And now the whole world knows." Rashida's fury was no less volcanic. She took 2 Instagram stories, her voice shaking. "I've stood by my man through hell and back. I've forgiven things nobody else would forgive. But this is beyond repair. My priority now is my kids and my peace. Kirk can deal with the rest on his own." Fans erupted in cheers of support, calling her a queen for finally walking away. The network decided to capitalize before it all collapsed. They scheduled an emergency reunion episode live, with an audience, under the pretense of clearing the air. Security was doubled, the cast was warned, but everyone knew the real purpose: ratings. The night of the reunion was electric. Fans filled the studio, holding signs, chanting names. Cameras panned across the crowd as the host introduced the chaos. "Tonight, we face the truth. Kirk Frost, Mendeecees Harris. 2 men, 1 feud, and secrets that could destroy everything." The audience roared. Kirk stormed onto the stage, first, booed by half, cheered by a loyal few. Then Mendeecees entered, met with thunderous applause. Yandi sat stiffly beside him, refusing to touch his hand. Rashida crossed her arms, her jaw tight. The host wasted no time. "Kirk, Mendeecees, what really happened? Were you partners in crime?" Kirk grabbed the mic. His voice was hoarse but loud. "I made mistakes. I admit that. But Mendeecees ain't innocent. He's been in this with me from the beginning. He acts like a victim, but he's just trying to cover his own tracks. If I go down, so does he." Gasps filled the audience. All eyes turned to Mendeecees' heroes, glaring at Kirk. "You dragged me into your schemes. I tried to walk away. I tried to protect my family, but you couldn't keep your mouth shut. Now you want to paint me as dirty. Nah, you've been hiding behind Rashida your whole career. Without her, you're nothing." The crowd screamed, half in shock, half in glee. Rashida jumped up, tears in her eyes. "Don't you dare use me as your excuse. Both of you lied. Both of you betrayed us. You dragged our families into your mess, and you made us all look like fools." Yandi shouted across the stage, her voice cracking, "And you, Mendeecees, don't act like you're the hero. You let me stand by you while you built this lie. I don't even know who you are anymore." The stage descended into pandemonium. Cast members yelled, producers waved frantically, and security braced for another brawl. And just as it seemed the episode would end in chaos, a stagehand rushed out with an envelope. The host opened it live on camera. Inside were fresh financial documents, this time not just with Kirk's name, but with Mendeecees as well. The studio fell silent. The host's voice trembled as he read, "It appears both men are implicated. Both men profited. Both men hid the truth." The audience gasped as Kirk smirked bitterly, and Mendeecees went pale. The women buried their faces in their hands. The crowd began to chant, "Lock them up! Lock them up!" For the first time, both men looked shaken. No longer untouchable. No longer in control. Exposed, and the cameras kept rolling. The moment those new documents were revealed on stage, the studio felt like it had been struck by lightning. The audience gasped, people stood up from their seats. Fans shouted in disbelief, and even the cameras shook as producers scrambled to capture every reaction. The papers didn't just have Kirk's name or vague references to shady deals, they had clear signatures, bank transfers, and business agreements tied to both Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris. The proof was undeniable. Kirk leaned back in his chair with a grim, almost satisfied smirk. For the first time in weeks, he didn't look like the cornered man anymore. He whispered into his mic with a bitter laugh. "See, told you. He ain't no saint." Mendeecees, however, froze. His face drained of color, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. The crowd erupted, half booing, half screaming, exposed. Yandi stood abruptly, her face red with fury. "So it's true, all of it. You sat in our home, looked me in the eye, and lied. You let me defend you while you laughed behind my back." Her voice cracked, the pain in her words cutting deeper than any insult. Mendeecees finally spoke, his tone low but trembling. "Yandi, I didn't laugh. I didn't want you to be dragged into this. I swear, everything I did to protect us." Rashida's voice rang out next, sharp as a blade. "Protect us. Protect your family. Don't you dare try that line. You and Kirk didn't care about protecting anyone but yourselves. You left your wives, your children, your friends to carry the weight of your lies while you sat here playing victim." Her eyes darted to Kirk, who tried to interject, but she cut him off. "And you, I should have walked away from you years ago. But no, I stayed. I believed in second chances. And all you did was prove that you can't change. You'll always be selfish." The audience roared, chanting Rashida. Rashida, while Kirk slumped in his chair. Yandi broke down, covering her face with her hands, while Mendeecees reached out, only for her to push him away. The host, desperate to keep control, raised his voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, it seems what began as a fight has now spiraled into the revelation of a massive scandal, but the question is, what happens now? Are Kirk and Mendeecees willing to own their mistakes, or will they continue to blame each other?" The men shouted over each other. "Kirk, he pushed me into it. Mendeecees, he started the whole scheme. Kirk, you made more money than me off this. Mendeecees, you're the one who brought me in." The back and forth became so heated that security had to step in again, separating the two before another fistfight broke out. The crowd chanted louder, cell phones held high, capturing every moment. Outside of the studio, social media caught fire instantly. Clips of the envelope reveal went viral within minutes. Memes flooded Twitter and TikTok. One showed Kirk and Mendeecees photoshopped onto the cover of American Greed. Another showed Rashida and Yandi walking away in slow motion with the caption, "The real bosses of love and hip-hop, hashtags #ExposedATL, hashtag Kirk and Mendeecees, and hashtag Love and Hip Hop Scandal shot to the top of worldwide trends." But while fans laughed and argued, the consequences behind the scenes were deadly serious. Within 24 hours, reports surfaced that law enforcement had officially opened an investigation. The leaked documents, combined with the voice memo, were more than just reality TV fodder, they were potential evidence. At the Frost household, Kirk's phone rang with calls from lawyers. He sat in the dark, staring at his reflection in the window. Rashida had taken the kids and refused to answer his messages. His empire was crumbling, business partners pulling out, sponsorships cancelled, stores empty. For once, the man who had always thought he could talk his way out of anything had nothing left to say. At the Harris home, Yandi packed bags, silently while Mendeecees begged her to stay. "Don't leave me, not now. I need you." Yandi shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "You should have thought about that before you lied. You didn't just betray me, you betrayed our whole family." She closed the suitcase and whispered, "I won't raise my kids in a house built on lies." Meanwhile, producers huddled with Mona Scott. "The show has never been hotter," one insisted. "Ratings are at an all-time high. If we cut them now, we'll lose millions." Mona rubbed her temples, exhausted. "If we keep them, and they get indicted on national television, we'll lose more than money, we'll lose everything." The network executives debated behind closed doors, torn between profit and survival. Then came the bombshell interview. Rashida agreed to sit down with a major talk show host. In a raw, tearful conversation, she revealed what life had been like behind closed doors. I stood by Kirk when everyone told me not to. I defended him when the world dragged me. But this is betrayal on a level I can't forgive. He didn't just hurt me. He risked our children, our future. And I won't stand for it anymore. The clip went viral, fans flooding her with messages of love and support. Many declared, Rashida finally free. Yandi, too, found her voice. In a powerful Instagram live, she looked straight into the camera, eyes swollen but fierce. To every woman watching this, don't let anyone convince you that lies are love. Protect your peace. Protect your family. And never, ever let someone drag you into their mess. Her words spread like wildfire, turning her into a symbol of resilience in the middle of chaos. But Kirk and Mendeecees weren't finished with each other. In a last-ditch effort to clear his name, Kirk leaked a series of text messages allegedly from Mendeecees, discussing payouts and hidden accounts. Fans were stunned. Was this more proof, or a desperate attempt to deflect? Mendeecees clapped back with his own evidence, emails showing Kirk as the initiator of the shady deals. The feud escalated into a digital war, each man throwing gasoline onto the fire. The streets of Atlanta buzzed with whispers that federal agents had already questioned people close to both men. Insiders claimed subpoenas were being prepared. And still, the cameras kept rolling, capturing every tear, every scream, every betrayal. The final nail came during a cast dinner filmed weeks later. The group gathered at a high-end restaurant, tension thick in the air. Kirk sat at one end of the table, Mendeecees at the other. Rashida and Yandi refused to sit beside them. Drinks were poured, plates served, but nobody touched the food. Finally, Scrappy broke the silence. Y'all destroyed this whole family over pride and greed. Look around. Ain't nobody laughing. Ain't nobody winning. Y'all lost everything. For once, neither Kirk nor Mendeecees had a comeback. The weight of his words hung heavy over the table. The men stared at their plates, broken shells of who they had once been. The women held their heads high, their strength shining through the rubble. As the cameras faded to black, one question lingered. Was this the end of Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris, or just the beginning? Oh, Atlanta had seen scandals before. It had seen fights, affairs, divorces, even arrests. But nothing compared to what was happening now. The feud between Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris had become a storm so big it swallowed families, shook the industry, and pulled in the law. The morning after the tense cast dinner, headlines screamed across every outlet, "Love and hip-hop in crisis. Will Kirk and Mendeecees face charges?" TMZ aired drone footage of investigators spotted near one of Kirk's properties. Blogs published exclusive rumors about Mendeecees' alleged offshore accounts. Twitter was a battlefield, with hashtag Team RASHEEDA and hashtag Team YonDY dominating trends, while hashtag Team Kirk and hashtag Team Mendeecees all but vanished. Fans no longer believed in either man. The story had turned into one of betrayal, greed, and survival, and the women had emerged as the true heroes. Inside the Frost home, Kirk's world collapsed further. The once bustling household was empty, stripped of Rashida's laughter and the kids' noise. The silence haunted him. His phone vibrated with texts from his lawyer. "We need to meet. Things are serious." Kirk rubbed his face, muttering, "How did it get this far?" He poured himself a drink, staring at the trophies on his shelf, tokens of a career that now meant nothing. At the Harris home, Yandi had officially moved out with the kids. Mendeecees sat alone at the dining table, scrolling through headlines that painted him as a fraud. Every article used the same words: dirty money, betrayal, exposed. He slammed the phone down and whispered to himself, "They don't know the whole story. They don't know what Kirk forced me into." But deep inside, he knew excuses wouldn't save him now. Meanwhile, the network wrestled with its next move. Executives debated pulling the plug entirely. "This is beyond entertainment," one argued. "We're documenting crimes on national TV." Mona Scott pushed back, her voice sharp. "This is messy, yes, but this is real. And reality is what keeps us alive. The audience won't forgive us if we shut this down. We either ride this out or we hand it to the blogs and lose everything." As cameras kept rolling, the feud spilled into Atlanta's streets. Fan rallies popped up outside filming locations, people holding signs, "Protect Rashida," "Free Yandi," "Cancel Kirk," Mendeecees lied. Radio hosts debated endlessly, some calling for arrests, others saying the men were being targeted unfairly. The city buzzed with speculation, and the line between TV drama and real life blurred completely. Then came the biggest twist yet. A subpoena was leaked online. The document named both Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris in an ongoing financial investigation. The papers listed charges under consideration: fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. Screenshots of the subpoena spread across social media like wildfire. Fans gasped. The internet went into meltdown. This wasn't a storyline anymore. This was real. At the Frost house, Kirk's lawyer arrived. He laid the papers on the table and said flatly, "They're coming for you." Kirk's hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. "Can we fight it?" he asked, his voice cracking. The lawyer shook his head. "Not if Mendeecees talks first." At the Harris home, a similar scene unfolded. Mendeecees' lawyer explained the stakes, warning him, "If you cooperate, you might save yourself. If you don't, Kirk will bury you." Mendeecees clenched his jaw. "So it's him or me?" The lawyer didn't answer. He didn't need to. The tension between the men reached its peak when they accidentally ran into each other at an industry lounge in Buckhead. The room froze as the two locked eyes. Phones shot up instantly, fans whispering, "It's about to go down." Kirk stepped forward, his voice low and venomous. "You think you can play me? You think you can snitch your way out?" Mendeecees stood tall, his tone icy. "You're finished, Kirk. You're dragging everybody down with you. And if I have to burn you to save my family, I will." Security swarmed before fists could fly, dragging both men out opposite doors. The footage, of course, went viral within minutes. Clips of the confrontation, set to dramatic music, hit TikTok and Instagram. Fans screaming in the comments, "This is bigger than TV. The FBI needs to hurry up. These men are done." The women, meanwhile, rose stronger than ever. Rashida launched a campaign called Boss Women Rise, encouraging women to leave toxic relationships and build their own empires. Her message resonated with thousands, turning her into a symbol of independence. Yandi focused on advocacy, appearing at community events, speaking about resilience and integrity. Both women gained praise while their husbands spiraled deeper. As weeks passed, the weight of the investigation grew heavier. Rumors swirled of indictments coming any day. The show captured it: Kirk pacing empty hallways, Mendeecees yelling into his phone, Rashida and Yandi refusing to film with their husbands. The drama reached fever pitch. Finally, the reunion's second half aired. The producers had saved the most shocking footage for last. Kirk and Mendeecees being confronted with the leaked subpoena on stage. The crowd gasped, the men stammered, and the women walked out in disgust. The episode ended on a cliffhanger, the screen fading to black with the words, "To be continued." Social media exploded. Fans begged for answers. Are they going to jail? Will Rashida divorce Kirk? Is this the end of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta? Every corner of the internet buzzed with speculation. Behind the scenes, Kirk sat in silence, staring at his reflection, muttering, "They'll never take me down." Mendeecees, alone in a hotel room, whispered to himself, "If it's me or him, I know what I have to do." And as the cameras prepared for one final showdown, Atlanta braced itself. The next chapter wasn't just about secrets or scandals. It was about survival. The storm around Kirk, Frost, and Mendeecees Harris had now grown so violent that even Atlanta itself felt like it was holding its breath. The fight that once seemed like another messy love and hip-hop storyline had mutated into a full-blown scandal with real-world consequences. Families were split, reputations destroyed, and investigators circling closer by the day. The leaked subpoena had been the tipping point. No longer could Kirk or Mendeecees hide behind cryptic posts, staged denials, or slick excuses. The law was watching, the blogs were digging, and the fans were screaming for justice. And yet, in the middle of this chaos, both men still clung to their pride, unwilling to bow to the truth. Kirk spent his nights pacing alone through his mansion, haunted by the absence of Rashida and the kids. Every room echoed with memories, birthday parties, family dinners, laughter that now felt like it belonged to another life. He picked up his phone and stared at Rashida's contact, but his thumb trembled every time he tried to call. He whispered to himself, "She never forgive me. Not this time." The man who once carried himself as untouchable was now crumbling behind closed doors. Mendeecees, holed up in a hotel room after Yandi moved out, grew paranoid. He checked the blinds every hour, convinced that agents were watching him. His phone buzzed with calls from reporters and former associates, but he ignored them all. In his mind, only one question mattered. Would Kirk flip first, or would he? Every day felt like a race against time. Meanwhile, Rashida and Yandi flourished outside of the mess. Rashida sat for another emotional interview, this time on a national morning show. "I've stood by Kirk longer than most women would have," she admitted, her voice steady but firm. "But there comes a point where love becomes chains. I won't let him drag me down anymore." The studio audience gave her a standing ovation. Yandi, for her part, spoke at a women's empowerment event downtown. "Loyalty doesn't mean blindness," she said, her tone fierce. "We deserve truth. We deserve respect. And we deserve peace." Clips of her speech went viral, fans calling her an inspiration, praising her for her strength in walking away. The women became symbols of resilience, while their husbands became symbols of downfall. Blogs declared, "The queens have risen." Fans flooded their social media with support. Meanwhile, Kirk and Mendeecees watched helplessly as their wives' stars rose while their own reputations sank deeper into mud. The producers knew the story had reached a breaking point. They planned one final sit-down, just Kirk and Mendeecees, face-to-face, no audience, no cast, only cameras. It was pitched as their last chance to clear the air, to tell their sides of the story before the world passed judgment. When the day arrived, the tension was suffocating. The two men sat across from each other in a dimly lit studio, silence stretching between them. The host finally spoke. "You've both been exposed. You've both been accused. This is your opportunity to speak the truth. What do you want to say?" Kirk leaned forward, his eyes bloodshot. "I never wanted it to go this far. I made mistakes. Yes. I got greedy. Yes. But I never meant to destroy my family. And as for Mendeecees, he was in it with me every step of the way. Don't let him play the innocent. We both played the game." Mendeecees slammed his hand on the table. "You dragged me into your dirt, Kirk. I tried to walk away, but you kept pulling me back. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted my wife and kids to live through this nightmare? No. You wanted money, power, respect, and you didn't care who you destroyed along the way." The two men shouted, accusations flying back and forth. The host tried to intervene, but the floodgates were open. Years of resentment, betrayal, and bitterness poured out. Finally, Mendeecees shouted the words that stunned everyone in the room. "If I go down, I'll take you with me. I have receipts you've never seen. And I'll drop them if I have to." Kirk shot back with venom. "Then do it. Because I've got my own receipts. And the world will see just how dirty you really are." The cameras captured it all, the threats, the fury, the desperation. By the time the sit-down ended, both men looked exhausted, their faces drenched in sweat, their voices raw. But the damage was done. When the footage aired, fans couldn't believe what they were watching. It wasn't just reality TV anymore. It was two men publicly confessing to crimes, each threatening to destroy the other. Social media exploded. "This is history. I've never seen TV like this. They're going to prison on camera." And as if fate wanted to punctuate the chaos, news broke the very next morning. Federal agents had officially filed charges against both Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris. The internet went into meltdown. Headlines blared. "Love and hip-hop stars indicted." Fans screamed online, "It's over. Lock them up." The wives won. At the Frost home, Kirk was taken into custody in front of flashing cameras. Reporters shouted questions as he was led away in handcuffs. Rashida, standing at a distance, shook her head, her face unreadable. At the Harris side, Mendeecees faced the same fate. Escorted by agents as Yandi held her children tightly, refusing to even look at him. The footage aired worldwide. The fall of two reality TV giants playing out like a Greek tragedy. The families left behind were forced to pick up the pieces. While the fans debated endlessly who was worse, who was more guilty, who deserved forgiveness, if anyone. In the end, the men who once thought they ruled love and hip-hop had been reduced to cautionary tales, while the women they betrayed rose higher than ever. The saga of Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris would go down as the most chaotic, most dramatic, and most unforgettable scandal the franchise had ever seen. And the streets of Atlanta, they were still buzzing, still whispering, still waiting for whatever twist might come next. What a whirlwind, what an absolute storm of chaos. From fists flying in that Atlanta club, to the shocking courtroom-level confessions on stage, we have watched Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris go from powerful reality stars to men completely exposed in front of the world. Families torn apart, wives standing strong, fans divided, documents leaked, subpoenas served, it all played out right before our eyes. And now, with both men indicted, the story has reached a level no one could have predicted. Think back to how this began. A shove, a punch, and some angry words. Who could have imagined it would unravel into this? Every twist pulled us deeper: the leaked voice memos, the anonymous envelopes, the explosive reunion, the women rising above the lies, the fans turning into detectives. The love and hip-hop universe has always been filled with drama, but nothing has ever cut this deep. This wasn't just entertainment, it was betrayal, survival, and the collapse of two legacies. And yet, Even with the indictments, even with the world pointing fingers, questions still hang in the air. Was one man guiltier than the other? Did Kirk mastermind everything? Or did Mendeecees play just as big a role behind closed doors? Will Rashida truly leave Kirk this time? Or is there a chance she'll forgive yet again? Can Yandy ever trust Mendeecees? Or has her strength pushed her onto a completely different path? The cameras caught so much, but there are still shadow secrets that may never see the light. What we do know is this: the fans have not stopped talking. Twitter threads stretch for miles. TikTok edits replay the fights like battle scenes. Memes flood Instagram timelines daily. The streets are buzzing, the internet is boiling, and the love and hip-hop community is more alive than ever. People are picking sides, arguing, screaming, dissecting every word. And the truth is you, the fans, have become part of this story. Your voices, your reactions, your support, and your outrage are what keep this chaos alive. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Is Kirk beyond redemption, or does he deserve a chance to rebuild? Was Mendeecees truly trying to protect his family, or was that just another excuse for greed? Do you believe Rashida and Yandy are finally done with these men, or will the cycle repeat once more? Drop your thoughts below, because we need to hear your side of this madness. And listen, this storm isn't over. The investigations are only just beginning. More receipts could surface. More truths could explode. Love and hip-hop has never been this raw, this messy, or this real. If you thought the brawl was the climax, think again. We're standing on the edge of something even bigger, and when the next chapter hits, you won't want to miss a second. So here's what you need to do. Smash that like button if you're as shocked as the rest of us. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next twist in this unbelievable saga. And turn on those notifications, because the story is moving fast, and we'll be right here breaking down every update, every rumor, every jaw-dropping reveal. Comment below and tell us where you stand. Are you Team Rashida, Team Yandy, or are you done with both of these men entirely? Do you think the show can survive without them, or is this truly the beginning of the end for Love and Hip Hop Atlanta? Your opinions matter. Your voices are part of this, and we're building a community that won't let the truth hide in the shadows. The fight was wild. The secrets were darker than anyone imagined. The fallout has been catastrophic. But the story of Kirk Frost and Mendeecees Harris is far from finished. Stay locked in with us, because when the next bombshell drops in, you know it will. You'll want to be here to watch the chaos unfold. This isn't just reality TV anymore. This is reality breaking apart before our eyes. And the only question left is, are you ready for what comes next? A much darker chapter.